I've built up the rest of the mold box now, and I've also just sealed all the different corners to make sure that none of the silicone will run out. And very, very importantly now is to actually spray my release agent as before. This is particularly important now to ensure that the silicone that I pour on doesn't stick to the silicone that's already in there. Silicone loves to stick to itself. So the idea here is to actually apply two coats. So I'll first spray on a first coat and then just brush it around to make sure it's covered everywhere. And then I'll do a second coat. And also just making sure that I get that onto the model as well. I'm particularly nervous about the actual recesses. So if I just take the camera off and I'll just show you what I mean. So remember I had those Lego components or Lego parts that are pressed in. So there I've got little depressions in the silicone. I've had to repair some of them where there was a bit of an overhang where the Lego pieces fell over. So I'm a bit nervous of those. I'm going to make sure that I get a lot of silicone release agent in there, otherwise I will never be able to pull the second half of that mold apart. I'm going to hit it one last time with some silicone release agent. This is just show you what I'm using. It's Mac Wax release agent. So you'd use exactly the same stuff when you actually do your resin cast. You'd spray that in the silicone mold to make sure that the resin doesn't stick to the silicone and that it releases easily. Just really trying to get it into those recesses. Okay. I've mixed the silicone. Again, quite a few air bubbles in there, which I really don't like. I've tried to, twist it around to try and separate or pop those bubbles, but hopefully, just with this having a long pot time of an hour, that those bubbles will work their way out. Okay, here it goes. As last time, I'm going to also just brush the silicone over the model just to make sure that I capture those details. That's filled up pretty much, so I've actually ended up putting about 300 milliliters of silicone on the bottom half as well, so that's a total of 600 milliliters of silicone, so quite a lot more than I was expecting. I can also still see here a lot of bubbles still coming through to the surface. You do get silicones that flow a little bit more easily, and so they will release air a bit more easily as well. I am happy though that they are at least coming to the surface, so at least that it improves the chance of the finish of the the model underneath, or the silicone on the model, being smooth and not bumpy. Alright, moment of truth. I'm going to start now that both sides have cured. So there's the bottom half, which I did last night. That is now cured over a day. Also quite a few little bubbles. So I really hope there aren't any against the surface of the model. And so now I will just begin plucking away at the Lego. Another night has passed, and unfortunately this little piece of silicone just here at the bottom hasn't cured. It could just be that when I scooped it out from the bottom of the pot that it might have been something that wasn't mixed, so chances are this isn't ever going to cure. It's a very small part, so hopefully that'll be okay. So I'm going to now commence
pulling this apart. Unfortunately, the seam is separating, so the spray that I sprayed did do the trick. Thank heavens. Would not want to have had to cut this open. So again, just doing this really gently so that I don't damage my model. There you go. Wow. So model seems to be intact. Let's tilt that to the camera. Model's still okay, and my mold is there. And looking at it, there are no bubbles on the surface. Maybe in one or two places. So there will maybe be a bit of filing or sanding just in those couple of places. We'll see what happens with the actual cast. And for the second half, I'm going to gently pull that away. Interestingly, there are some bubbles and a bit of flashing in there. So obviously with the jelly and all that, I guess some of the silicone worked its way down. Hopefully that's not going to cause me a problem. There you go. So he's out. Really wanted to protect this just in case the mold itself didn't turn out well. And here we go. Seems to be quite good. So next step will then be to do the actual casting.